powered by Riverside FM.
Welcome to another edition of Unconventional Playbook. We are back after the bye. You know who's in the house. You know who's in the house. We got my guy, Patrick Buchanan, in the house. Pat, it's been the bye. Man, I hate bye weeks. I'm not even going to lie to you. I hate bye weeks, but it was a good time to get some R&R, some relaxation a little bit. But I miss watching my Vikings last Sunday. But we got a big game coming up this Sunday, man. What's going on in your world?
Nothing much, man. The bye weeks are tough. There's one thing that comes out of bye weeks. You can't
What's
lose a
that?
game. You can't lose a game on a bye week, coach.
We still undefeated.
Yeah,
We still undefeated.
still undefeated, still top two in the power ranking. So I don't think we could pretty much complain about that. But yeah, it's good to get back at it. Good that is, Detroit. So you already got Green Bay, one of the Green Bays out the way. Now you get Detroit, second division game. Um, yeah, this could be a fantastic stretch after the bye week, looking at the next five opponents, especially after this game. Man, it could be a stretch where Patrick, my preseason prediction could hit right then, So, I mean, it's very favorable, especially with what I told you. We would sweep the AFC South, and what the AFC South looks like, and they about to come up, and the Rams. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest games that has been at US Bank in a long time. I'm glad this first Lions tilt is at home in front of Skull Nation. It's just going to be a really good football game. And I think, the NFC North has been getting a lot of pub as being the best division in football, which is true. Everybody has, 4 wins or more, which is, just unbelievable to think about. But the thing is, we've been tested in the division, like you mentioned, the Packer games. The division really hasn't had a chance to test each other. There hasn't been a lot of interdivisional games. That's going to come down the stretch. But this is the first big one, Minnesota Vikings. And I'm excited about it, yet I'm a little nervous about it because we got some key injuries. Injuries come into play. Obviously, the Lions lost Hutchinson last game with just a horrific injury. Feel sorry for that young man, but hopefully he'll be able to come back better than ever next year. I'm assuming he's going to be out for the rest of the year. But this Minnesota Viking game means a lot. I think really the national media has kind of been giving us our flowers, but I think there's a good portion of the national media that is waiting for really the other shoe to drop for the Minnesota Vikings. And this is one of those games where it's going to be interesting to see how the Vikings come out, what their mentality is. Can they continue to do some of the things that they've been successful with in previous games against a tough, stout Detroit Lions team?
Oh yeah, this is no matter with the big loss that they have in Aiden Hutchinson gone there, they have depth. And it's the reason why you didn't see them go make a big splash to go pick up someone like Judah, or just searching for another top end defensive end because they have the depth already, right?
Right.
You're not that good without the depth. Something I always talk about with us they got young guys out there, their depth, their offense is clicking on all cylinders. I don't care about what team you play. You put up 46 points. I mean, you're putting up a lot of points, 49 points. I mean, that's a lot of points on any professional teams. These are professionals. They can go, and the addition of like what Gibbs and Montgomery are doing in that backfield for them. How Jared is spreading the ball around. Armand St. Brown ain't even having a good year right now. Like, Williams is really doing it more than him when it comes to the touchdown production, at least. So I mean, they're clicking. This is going to be another big test. Like once again, ever since the Giants, that every week that's what we've been seeing, right? And one of the greatest things about us is that this team, you listen to them talk, and they heard the noise, but the one thing they have never done and walked into game is disrespecting the other opponent, matter they're home or away. They're giving them all the respect. They are not saying, oh, Hutch is out, so we can take advantage of this. Nah, they're still game planning fully for this because they know this team is good that we're about to go against. I mean, we got the addition of Cam Akers now, and there's great reason for that addition when Aaron Jones went down. Just to have a back like that's multi-dimensional for us. Not saying that Ty isn't, but Cam's a little bigger and he's better. He does things better, right? So this is going to be fun, man. This matchup, coach. This matchup is going to be fantastic. The best two teams in the NFC North right now. Yeah, we're getting some love, but coach, when I look at always like looking at lines and stuff like point spreads and all these different, so when I look at stuff like 86% of the voters are voting the Lions in the plus, and like 58% of people voting them on the money line. Like that's still people not believing or whatever, even in our home. And this is the game right here, especially in the North, that will really solidify some things early for us.
Yeah. I look at, and I know it's out there. Nobody's really saying it because they can't. But I think you bring up a really good point. The majority of people are still hesitating in believing in these Minnesota Vikings, and I think a lot of it, Pat, is the Sam Darnold effect. I don't really think it's the team. I think everybody likes what KOC is doing and B Flow is doing, but they're not really sold on Sam Darnold, man. They just don't. Sam Darnold has put enough bad film out there in previous years where I just think there's not a lot of believers. And as a coach, here's the one thing that I say, and I said it about my Ohio State Buckeyes last week, and they end up coming a little bit too short. When people have all of these negative things to say about you, you're going to have opportunities and moments to shut them up. This is a shut them up moment this week for Sam Darnold. If Sam Darnold is legit, and again, he doesn't have to play lights out. Like, I'm not expecting him to throw for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, or anything like that. But he can't take a step back in this game. Like, he's got to be a competent quarterback out there. He can't be a shell of himself out there. He's got to be able to make plays and make the best team win. But he can't take a step back because all the naysayers and the boo birds out there are just waiting for him to take a step back. You've gotten a little taste of it the last couple of weeks when the second half of the Green Bay Packer game, and he really didn't play his best game against the New York Jets. People, national media, anti-Viking fans are ready to pounce on Sam Darnold. He's got to come in this big game and just be a competent quarterback on Sunday. Doesn't have to be great, but he has to be competent on Sunday.
I mean, his last 6 quarters of play haven't been the greatest play, right?
Yeah.
But and we could why do we have to it's every quarterback we go through this with it's not even Minnesota Vikings, like it's any NFL quarterback. We just want to
Absolutely.
crucify them like there's running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, offensive linemen, defensive linemen, cornerbacks, linebackers, right? Kickers, right, that can't kick field goals, right? But we always jump on these quarterbacks, right? Like they're not human too, right? They can't have bad whatever. You could talk about his last 6 quarters were not better than his first, right, uh, 12, 10 quarters, right? So of play. Well, who three quarters, 5 quarters of football or 6 quarters of football, and you're still getting a W?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like you still getting a dub. You didn't do anything to lose the game. Right? And that's
Yeah.
what I look at right now. And going into this one, yeah, he's back at US Bank Stadium and home crowd field. Like there's not going to be that much blue out there, right? They're not allowing that much blue in there. Purple is going to be purpled out in our stadium like it should be. Sam will be fine. I can say without Aaron Jones that did hurt too, not having that and knowing that he's back, right? And then you add an addition, right? Now him, Ty Chandler, and Cam Akers, right? That we're good now back there. Now he has his play action. There was no play action. There was no run game. And he's done things based off of balance. And when we're in balance, then you're asking him to do too much. And
Yeah.
yeah, then that's when the hard criticisms about him will come into play. And we just got to continue. We got to get back to balance so we're not throwing so much on his shoulders, right? But let's be honest. He's made critical drives in the last two games to put us in position to make sure we get the win, right? That is something else we could say. Like he's led us to Will Reichert field goals, right? That's moving the sticks. There's been some third down throws that the man has made to move the sticks. Skip all that other stuff, man. It's not about the middle. It's about how you start. But I'm looking at how you finish it. And if you finish it off and we get a W, man, I tip my hat and all that. That means the other stuff that happened the first three quarters didn't affect you.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned that, to be honest with you about this game, about two things. I think on both sides of the ball, we are losing kind of the glue guys on both sides of the ball. When you talk about Cashman, who has turf toe, won't be playing this Sunday. He's the green dot guy. And, he's a guy that I believe he leads our team in tackles. I mean, when you watch him play, he's a ball hawk. He flies around everywhere. He's kind of he's not the whole defense, obviously, because that defense has multiple parts, a lot of different players. But think it's safe to say that losing a Cashman for this game hurts. And then you've mentioned it on the offensive side of the ball. We don't know if Aaron Jones is going to play or not, if he's going to be limited or not, whatever. But losing that, I mean, we kind of got a glimpse of what this offense kind of looked like without Aaron Jones in it. I like the move, bringing in another running back to add depth to that room, another running back that, in Cam Akers that knows the playbook, knows the system, knows the coaches. Because I thought the coaching staff got a glimpse of, hey, we need a running back that's multifaceted, that can catch out of the backfield, that can grind for those tough yards. The Vikings losing those two players for this game creates a void. And I know defensively we're good enough to be able to overcome that. But but if I had concerns about, what troubles the Vikings may have, it's having those two components out of a well-built system that's helped us get to 5-0.
Yeah, they have, but let's go into the word depth,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So last year, who led us in tackles? Do you know who led us in tackles last year?
I can't remember.
It was Pace.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
It was
Ivan
Pace,
Pace, yeah,
right? So having Pace, when Pace was out, who filled in for Pace? Gully, right?
yeah, yeah,
So who's going to fill in for Cashman? Like, it's not a drop off because of the depth they brought, right?
yeah.
Did we miss a beat not having Pace? No, Gully stepped in. Hill stepped in. Are we
Right.
going to miss a beat without it? No, he's going to step in now, right? And that'll be solidified at the linebacker. I just believe that's the depth of it, right? Um, and Cashman's more likely not to play. I believe Aaron Jones is more likely to play. He's more in the questionable where Cashman's on the doubtful, right? So I believe he will. But even if he doesn't play, Cam already knows the offense. He was here last year. Injecting him in is not that hard to do. So I think we'll be okay. But those are big holes, right? I'm not going to talk about it like it's small fry. Those
Yeah,
are big gaps. I'm less worried about the Cashman and more about the Aaron Jones, right? Like
yeah,
that's special uniqueness that he has, an ability to really run the football and his vision um, on his cuts and just how he runs the football. So that one is uneasy more than the others, right? So here's what's really about to be like our D backs are really about to be tested though this game, right? Our D backs are about to be tested. Um, just because the way that Jared loves to throw the ball, he throws great intermediate routes. He can throw the ball downfield. They have speed. They have guys with great hands. I mean, they can spread you out and send out the backfield. You can get Montgomery or Gibbs coming out the backfield, and they got a fantastic tight end. Hopefully, I mean, I know he's been practicing, so I'm hoping our tight end gets out there this week. If he doesn't, that's fine. But I know he's been practicing for over a week now. Um, they haven't said anything yet, but I know he's been practicing.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I love the challenge. And don't get me wrong, I think the D-backs have been challenged in every single game. Even the New York Giants game with the rookie and Neighbors, who's looked fantastic when he's out on the field. So, um, I'm interested to see how our defensive backs do with this challenge that they have with these great weapons they have on the offense of the Giants. It's fantastic. Like people said, and I'm not afraid to see it too. Vikings Nation, right? Let's be honest. We have to give credit to where credit is due. This is a team that easily, which I think the coach is going to do what he's going to do, right? Campbell's going to do what he wants to do, but if Campbell played the game well, it's a double-edged sword, coach, right? We know he goes for it more than anyone on fourth down. Would they have been where they were without him? But in the playoffs, he's a Super Bowl. That team last year was a Super Bowl, being in the Super Bowl type of team. And I still want to give credit to where credit is due and say that is the team we're trying to be. Like they had to dethrone us from the North, right? So we kind of got to dethrone them, and I want to give credit to credit's due. And to me, this is the top team in the NFC until we're able to beat them. So if we're able to beat them, then get it. But to me, this is the top team in the NFC, and I just think we got to beat them to show that we are that team.
Yeah, Lions are an incredible football team. I think I've been sitting back over the bye week, man, just trying to figure out. B-Flow's been getting a lot of flowers around the, league, national media, what have you, pundits, analysts, other coaches, other players. You had Brock Purdy coming out, man, saying, this is the most insane defense that I've ever had to go against. B-Flow is doing his thing. B-Flow is putting in work. I'm always intrigued by coaching. As you know, I love X's and O's. Even if it's not in my sport, I like the strategy of it, how to implement certain things, how to beat certain things. So I was sitting back and I was like, man, how would I combat B Flow's defense? Because I just think it's unscoutable. It's not like what you see on film, you can't trust because everything is off reads. B Flow said early in his tenure here where he was like, I'm giving this offense to the players. I just put them in spots where they can be successful. They have to make reads, and then they have to make this defense their own. And I really like that mentality. But I think, this is going to be an intriguing matchup because the Detroit Lions can run the football.
Yeah.
And I think that is the one way you can beat B-Flow's defense. Why? Because you're not dropping back to pass a whole lot. And if you can stay on schedule, you bring in a lot of the play action game as well. So now B-Flow's defense has to start guessing a little bit, and they can't necessarily do what they want. I think the one thing that they've been doing really, really well is possession by possession. They've been keeping the offenses that they've played against off schedule, third and long situations where they can pin back their ears and come after the quarterback. It's going to be really intriguing. The Vikings has one of the most, if not the top, rush defense in the league. And I believe that's because they bring so many guys up to the line. The offensive line just doesn't understand or know how to block it. The Detroit Lions seem to be determined runners. So it's gonna be interesting to see if Campbell comes in with that same mentality. If it's not working, how quick they abandon the run. Because I'm telling you right now, if the Detroit Lions abandon the run, the game is over.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to try to run the football as effectively as they can, and I think that's going to be a big component on who wins or loses this football game.
Oh, for sure. Like our run defense is a top three run defense in the league, if not the number one. But Detroit's run offense is a top, five run offense, if not number two behind the Rams. I mean, behind the Ravens. So that is the matchup right up front. The last several opponents, the quarterbacks have thrown probably more than they wanted to throw because
Yeah.
they couldn't run against us.
Yep.
And if that's that, so it's kind of like almost in a sense with us. Like I'm gonna use Jared Goff and Sam Darnold in the same sense, right? If the game is they have to beat you and you don't have a run game, that's scary for both teams, right? If we can't run against them and they can't run against us, that's scary in a sense of offensively. Scary, not meaning like dangerous scary. Like we don't want our quarterbacks, both Jared Goff and Sam Darnold, throwing 40, 50 times. Now, if that's the recipe, that's not good, and that's not good for the offense. So, yeah, like, and they're a physical team. Like Detroit is physical; they're thumpers. So if we take this run game away from Montgomery and Gibbs, which I'm telling you, it it's going to be a task. But this is what I do want to say: Joe Mixon, Josh Jacobs, Braylon Allen, and Brees Hall, and now Gibbs and Montgomery. Like it's not like we haven't went against.
That's true. That's true.
Like, and I think Mason may have been the only running back to get off against us in the 49ers, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So we have seen fantastic defenses, fantastic offenses, fantastic wide receivers, fantastic quarterbacks, and fantastic running backs. Like I'm just saying, it's not a challenge that any other. The respect that I give is the Detroit Lions are the NFC. Like they are they're here, and then there's different people. Like there's people right there on them, and we're one of those teams. And this game could solidify us really as the big dogs in the NFC.
Well,
But if we don't stop that run game, we won't be.
here's the question I wanted to ask you, and I've been wanting to ask you after I saw this game because I wanted to pick your brain on this. When you look at the Lions Dallas Cowboy games, is this a situation, Pat, where the Lions are that good, or was it more of an indictment on the Dallas Cowboys?
That's why he ain't no coach no more. Look at that defense coordinator, man. Zimmer ain't here. Listen, there's a reason why he ain't here. And B-Flow here and KOC here. Listen, man, he's long in the tooth, man. I mean, he even talks about it as his way or whatever. Not if you don't come in thinking differently with this generation of players, man, you're just not going to be successful, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I can say that from a coaching standpoint where I know I need change, right? Like you have to change and adapt. Um, that was how bad Dallas is. Like that is how bad. That's Jerry's world. That I'll just say that was Jerry's world.
Okay.
But that also is how good Detroit is. Not that. Like Detroit, two good teams going at each other. Detroit, I believe it's a one-score game, right?
Yeah.
But going up against a horrible team, you can take advantage, right? When I look at that game and I was like, listen to B-Flow and them talk to it, like all the trickery plays they've tried to put on film, right? Like let's do a triple flea flicker, right? Let's do this reverse here. Like the stuff they was trying to put on film. I know B-Flow and he gives props to the coaches over there. He really, to the offense coordinator. I think this, like you listen to him in his interviews, like, oh, we're working on stuff too, right? Like, don't forget about us, right? And I
Right.
think he says stuff when he's speaking, like in his I feel like this thing is going in his head when he's trying to talk to the media. He's trying to be politically correct and trying to give props to everything. But I think sometimes when I'm looking at him talking, I'm like, he really saying, oh, I'm about to light these motherfuckers up, right?
Yeah.
Watch like they have no idea. They gave us a bye week to get ready for the Detroit Lions. Oh, we got some stuff for them that they ain't seen yet. Like
Yeah.
I feel like that is what's about to happen. Like he has his energy. I mean, he's exuberant about throwing his always new stuff out at people and just confusing them, and he'll confuse the hell out of Jared Goff too. Jared Goff is no smarter than Aaron Rodgers, like Jordan Love, Purdy, C.J. Stroud. Like he's like if you could do it to Aaron Rodgers, right, who's the only one that's a Hall of Famer thus far in that. Like, come on, what's Jared Goff? He can confuse the hell out of him too.
Yeah. It's gonna be a good game on Sunday, man. It's gonna be a good game. I know this is not a Patrick's Picks show, but I'm gonna put you on the hot seat. I'm gonna put you on the hot seat right now, Pat. Give me Give me a score of Sunday's game versus the Detroit Lions. You give me your score, then I'll give you my score, and then we'll wrap it up. What's the score of the Detroit Lions Minnesota Vikings game on Sunday?
Oh man. I have so much respect. Like I feel like I have two scores, but I can only give one, right? I got a score of what I really believe is going to happen, and I'm not going to say, but I'm going to give you the score of respecting the Detroit Lions.
Okay.
Okay, and instead of the score, I really think I'll tell you off air what that is, but um,
You you had that from UP Nation?
so the respect score of the Detroit Lions is 31-27.
Okay.
That's my
Okay.
Vikings win.
Okay.
31-27,
Okay.
that's the respect of them score. The real score that I believe is going to happen, like I'm just being honest, is I believe it's a 34-17 game.
Vikings.
Vikings.
Okay. Okay.
Like that's what, because I believe this is a game where we whoop someone's tail game, right?
Yeah.
And the emotions that Detroit's coming off of the big win, but also in the locker room, Hutch, you don't replace that. You
Yeah.
just don't. And they have depth, but you don't replace that. The number one sack getter in the NFL.
Yeah. I think this is a big game. And
Yeah, go ahead. Tell me that prediction.
yeah, I think this is a big game, Pat. And I think if you were to ask Sam Darnold and if he was truthful, it's probably the biggest NFL game that he's ever played against, played in. And he's going to have a raucous crowd. He's going to have an environment in that stadium that he has never played in front of before at the pro level. And that's got to affect him somewhat. I don't care how cool and calm and collected, when you've never done it, I look at the whole sports psychology of it. I believe in that stuff. I believe it's going to hit different in that first quarter. And I think he's going to have to find a way to calm himself down and stay within himself. And I think essentially that's going to make the Detroit Lions defense a little bit better than what it is. He's going to be a little bit more hesitant. He's going to tend to overthink some things, but that's going to go away, I think, throughout the game. I think the Lions are going to try to be more run heavy than they've ever been. And so it's going to be incumbent on the Minnesota Vikings to be able to stop the run a little bit. As I mentioned, about five minutes ago on our podcast, the Vikings have to stop the run. But when it's all said and done with, I think it's going to be a knockdown, drag-out war. I don't think it's going to be a blowout either way. I think the difference is going to be being able to get the best field position, time of possession, and can you make key field goals? And I look at that, and I look at the Minnesota Vikings, and I'm picking the Minnesota Vikings to win a close one. And I think the score is going to be 20-17. And I think the Vikings defense are going to have a lot to do with that. There's going to be some key turnovers in that game that are going to come from our defense side of the ball that's going to help us to win this game. I think the offense is going to be up and down a little bit throughout the game, but I think our defense is going to be consistent the whole game. They're going to give Jared Goff trouble. He's going to throw at least 2 picks in the game, and I believe we're going to pick up another fumble or so. So I think the Minnesota Viking defense is going to be really, really opportunistic. I think it's going to be a 20-17 game, picking the Minnesota Vikings to win that game.
Got it. On in there. Let's get ready. We got a couple of days to go. I'm ready.
Yeah, man. So UP Nation, hit that like and subscribe button. Continue to help the station grow. We're doing fantastic. We got Patrick's picks coming up later this weekend. Obviously, we got our post-game show that is going to start a little bit earlier on Sunday. So after the game ends, usually we start at 8 p.m. that night with our live show. We're going to be starting at 5 p.m. on Sunday with our live show. So make sure you tune in to that and make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Pat, anything else you got left to say, man, to UP Nation before we get out of here?
Nah, man, enjoy. Sit back. It's great to have football back for us. So it's fantastic. So sit back and enjoy. This is like everybody can say, this is still part of that gauntlet, and then it drops off, right? This is the end of it. We had a bye week in between it, but this is the part of the gauntlet. So we'll, enjoy it. Let's see. This is the challenge for him. So curious to see how we do with this challenge here. So, but I'm excited to see it and ready to enjoy this one.
Yeah, when you talk about that gauntlet, man, even this is even if this is a drop game for us and we end up being 5-1, which I don't think is going to happen. I think we're going to get to 6-0. I would have taken 5-1 when we were looking at the schedule to start the season. So I'm looking forward to this one. On behalf of Patrick Buchanan, myself, Lionel Jones, this has been Unconventional Playbook. We'll see you when we see you. Latre, take us home, man.
I don't know who I am. Can I say I'm the man? Am I losing my mind? Am I wasting my time? Do I know who I am?